Yep.
I guess you are. Hey guys, we're back in the shop again tonight. Me and the better half, Jen's on the other end of the camera tonight, just messing around. We thought we'd do another short video. We purchased a 53 Bel Air, which is an all original car pretty well, but if you guys know me, you know I don't like stock height, so I had to take a few inches out of the height to get a little closer to the ground where I don't feel like I have get a dizzy head from being up too high. So we they don't make they don't make many parts for these cars with it's got a torque tube rear end, which means the rear end and the drive line is in a tube. It's all in one piece, so you can't just go to the parts store and buy a set of lowering blocks for an S10 or something like that. So you have to order the blocks, and they're kind of expensive. You know, a set of 3-inch blocks with U-bolts is over $100. So with me being on a budget like I always am, I thought, well, I'll just pick up some U-bolts and make some blocks. So I thought, well, I will show everybody if they decide to lower something, they can make their own lowering blocks if you want to, especially for the old cars. And the biggest problem with the old cars is, I started doing these blocks. I cut them out of and these are cut out of a piece of 2x4 steel tubing is all they are, okay? The leaf springs on the old 50s cars are only like 1 7/8 inches or a little bit over, almost 2 inches wide. So the blocks you get from the parts store, like for the S10s and stuff, are way too wide. So they don't set them. They set them too wide on the perch, and the U-bolts are too wide, so they won't go down over them. So this is the next best thing: is build some steel blocks. Plus, you can do these like from 1 inch to, if you really wanted to, 4 or 5 inches. But I wouldn't go over 4 or 5, because when we was kids growing up, you could buy a steel block was 4 inches for some of the S10s and mini trucks, because all of us wanted as low as we could possibly drive them, get hung on parking stops and all kinds of stuff all the time. So yeah, anyway, I cut these about, I think they're 2 3/4, because you got to count for your 1/8 inch steel that you put on top to make your purchase. So, and the biggest deal with these is you've got to figure out what size dowel pin your leaf springs has got in it. So what I usually use is just these little Allen headed bolts, and I'll try to find me one that fits up in the perch hole on the rear end, and that way you know exactly what size hole to drill on the bottom of this where it sets over your leaf spring. So these work pretty good, and I'll show you what you do to the top ones here in a few minutes. But anyway, I've done tacked the bottom on this one prior to today, so because we don't want the videos to be too long and I get too boring. But anyway, all right. What I like to do is just get a drill bit set out, and let me get some glasses because I'm old and blind. So anyway, you just kind of want to find a drill bit that's kind of close to the size of your boat head, or the bottom part of this. Okay. All right, it's too small. Let's see what we got here. Still too small. Let's just jump a couple sides and see if I can get real closer. Which isn't good. There you go. All right. I think this might work. Okay. See, this one's really close to being the right size. And I'm thinking it's going to be a 1/2 inch hole, so I'm going to try it. Because you don't want it so tight when you put your block in there, you have to force it down over top of the pin. So yeah, it's a 1/2 inch. Okay. All right. And these drill bits, this brand, guys, this ain't no Harbor Freight stuff. So I'm telling y'all, a good set of drill bits make a job go a lot faster. So those, I like them really good. A friend of mine picked them up for me, and I have no idea where he got them, but they're really good bits. And this is an 1/8 inch steel plate. What I do is take a tape measure, measure here to here, split the difference to find the center, and then go to here, and that way you get the dead center point. And I usually drill just a little pilot hole to where your drill bit is set in. That way you can drill in it. Now if you got a press, it's a lot better. This is old school. It's probably gonna grab the block and spin it around, so maybe anyway. This vibrate off. Oh, everything's gonna fall off the table. said. Forward. Anyway, this works a lot better if you put them in a valve. So, what are you laughing about? Anyway, we're using the front of a 2x4 here on this 49 Chevrolet I'm building for a friend of mine. And you can see I got the firewall done, all the metal work done, but just big pair of ice skirts. I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep it spinning enough and drilled anyway. Safety, safety. This is redneck safety. See how good those drill bits cut. You don't have to fight with them very much. That dowel pin hole is a little bit tight. Swallow it around a little bit. Oh yeah. All right. But anyway, this part of the block sits on your leaf springs. So now you've got to have on your top of that, you've got to have, wish I've got some plates cut here somewhere over there. Sorry, everything's scattered around here. You got to have a top plate, but you don't want to weld this one in yet. See, it fits on the top of the block, and you just need to find center in it, just like the bottom one. So what you need to do is you got to go back into your stuff and find you a drill bit big enough for this hole. So let me clean this off just a little bit. This is what happens in real shops, especially homegrown shop. It's a lot of picking up trial and error, parts flying, even tools flying sometimes if it's no bad. What's cool about these blocks is you ain't gonna be limited to, oh, I can go to the parts string, only get a 3-inch block. You'll be able to make you a 4 or 5, whatever, if you really want to hammer your truck. Let's get our bits back up here. Try to find a grip bit for this now. Alright, I think it's somewhere right here. See, something's close here. Looks like it'll work. Like I say, if you get a drill press, which I do in the back room, and later on, if we keep doing videos, I'll have the shop set up a lot nicer and be able to do a lot nicer videos, because we're just messing around to see if y'all guys like these and see if you want more videos of how to do some cheap ways to lower your vehicles and cheap ways to do stuff that's just as good or better than the stuff you buy. A lot of times, you know, you get some blocks or something they make them, they'll just be just like little thin aluminum, you know, or something, because I've seen them actually bend and twist and all kinds of stuff. These steel blocks are not going nowhere once you get them. So anyway, see how good the drill bit cuts. You're not doing that with no Harbor Freight bit. I promise you that. anyway, you get your bolt in there, if you're still on there, and then once you get it in, take you a pair of vice grips or something to, the reason I didn't put the block together all the way is you want to take this pin and weld it from the back side. So you got to do that before. Until let's go put that over here like this and put some pressure on it. All right, you just take this after you get it all done here, and so you'll have it. It'll be sticking through the back side of the plate like that. And so what you need to do is just lay this down on something pretty flat. You don't have to clamp it because you make sure it's pushed all the way down flat. I gotta get it weird off. And we'll tack it a spot or two here. With this. I have to clamp it. Forgot about the ground. Kind of hard to clamp the ground. All right. Anyway, we just need to get it in there long enough to put a tack in there where it won't move around and see anything. So, use that. Get the MIG welder out. What kind of parts to a MIG? You can use a TIG. If you ain't got a TIG, you can use a stick welder. Just whatever you have to work. Just going to put a tack on there to hold that in place. And then you can take your welder to it like I did. And then go ahead and burn it in. So we got it welded all the way around the back. So now your pin is not going nowhere. So that just gets it locked in there to where this is actually all hold your rear end in place in the car. Once you get these blocks in there, people realize, you know, how serious, because it can shift back and forth if the bolts become loose or something though. This pin's gonna keep it where it's supposed to go. So anyway, best thing there after that is let it cool, which I'm not. But anyway, y'all get to make fun of me getting burned here. Just kind of get your plate lined up with your block, centered up best you can, same distance front to end and everything. And what a lot of times you can do is take your, it's hard to clamp once you got a square block here. And if you got a welding table, which I have, but I ain't got it here, you can set this on a welding table and y'all know it's grounded, but you can take and hold this down. Get you a couple tags on it. Keep your top from coming off. And then you can clamp it to weld. Which I do up with that. And we just gonna burn it in. that. It's always better to be safe than sorry. But anyway, just let that cool off, and you take a little Daco or grinder and take and run around there and kind of smooth it down like I did the bottom one and everything. But that's pretty well how you make a lowering block for pretty well anything you want to make it for. That's what's cool about these, is that block, once you're done, you can make if any tallness you want. But like I say, I wouldn't want to go over, really 4 is enough, but you can go up to 5 inches if you want to on the lowering part of the block. I have on S10s before back in the day, and everything. The biggest on these deal on these old cars, if I can find that U-boat, here it is. I'll show you the difference. See these U-boats, how they're made on these old cars. That is the factory U-boat, and you can see the difference here between this U-boat and that boat. See, it's just a slight difference wider than that boat, but this is pretty well what you get from the parts store. And a pair of these, while ago, I got a pair of them there from, I got more rallies. They're Dorman. Just get my Dorman book. They're 8.5 inches long if you go to a 3-inch block under an old car. But yeah, you have to, only thing you have to really do is these little deals here. That's your shock mount and stuff. It goes on the bottom of the boat like this. And as you can see, the hoses are going to be off just a hair. So now I'm going to have to rim these out and stuff like that. But anyway, that's something for another video. And we'll try to do a video on how to cut your coil springs off on the front, and how to figure out by how much it's going to lower your car without cutting too much or not enough and having to pull them back in and out. The switch is so aggravating having to break the front end down twice. But most people are scared to cut coil springs because back in the day, everybody would just get the coil spring out, take a cut off wheel, cut them, and then stick them back in the car. And you can't do that, because once you cut the coil, it's on an angle, and you have to take a torch and bend everything back down where it will seat in the pocket on the car. But you can usually cut a set of coils and put them back in, it'll ride really good, and you save you some money on buying coil springs too. So far I've got about, in this lowering kit for this car, and I ordered 3 in the front and 3 in the back. I'll show you a picture of it when I get done. I've got about what, $23 in the lowering kit? $23 in parts in the lowering kit. So yeah, I don't think you'd be able to do that. The cheapest one I seen was like $400. So if y'all guys got a project, just want something old and cool to drive, you got a little mini truck and you just want to lower a little bit, you can clip your coils and they ride good. You just gotta know how to do it. So I'll get back with a video showing how to clip the coils and stuff to make them where they'll ride and set the pockets right. And the blocks, they're pretty simple. They're just some junk laying around the garage. Some 1/8-inch plate, some square tubing. Just try to get a good sidewall. Try to get a square with an 1/8-inch sidewall. That way you get a good stout block. These things are heavy, so you know, you can pick up out scrap yard like Southern Central or one of the junk, you know, places that take scrap metal. Most of the time we've got some tubing laying around that you can pick up to make stuff out of. But it's pretty simple. You don't need a plasma cutter. I cut these with a plasma. Just take a cut-off wheel, mark them, scribe them, make sure they're square all the way around and cut them. But you always got to count according to how low you want to go for the thickness of your metal you're putting top and bottom on that. So always remember that. Cut them up, and you can just grind them, clean them up, make them look cool, and you spray paint them, whatever you want to do when you get them in the truck. Nobody will ever know you made them yourself unless you tell them. And then let's walk back to this rear suspension of this truck. This is a 49 I'm doing for a guy. It's air ride, and y'all can see this is where the running board set, so it's flat on the floor. It's LS motor. This is a custom engine cover I made. I'm gonna try to maybe pop one of these and start producing. And for the old ugly truck intakes, I know y'all guys, not everybody can spend $10,000 on parts for an LS motor. Some people just want to take a 5.3 out of a Tahoe or a pickup and stick in a truck and have a good dependable car that gets 20 miles a gallon. So this intake is kind of nasty. So this little deal is homemade. It's all steel, this one is, but I'm gonna make some fiberglass ones, I think. This fits over the intake and just bolts down. It's got the Chevrolet screw up. I'm gonna do them where you put them in a forward. And these coil covers, I'm not sure I'm gonna stay with these. I made these too, but we may do something different. This back half, everything on this is nothing store-bought, guys. The only thing back here that's store-bought is the air tank. Everything else is custom made. This is just a cover that covers the gas tank, and your compressor goes underneath here, and I put some dimple-dyed holes in it to where it could breathe and get air to the compressors. This is just all rough welded. Everything's just tacked in place. But this is a 49 Chevrolet truck. If y'all guys gonna run 8-inch wheels in the back and want them to tug pretty hard, which this truck lays running board all the way around, I use a 95 Mustang GT rear end of this. It worked really good. And I use the Mustang 2, which is 5-lobe small forward anyway, so that worked good together. So hopefully we'll have this truck done before long and everything. I'll show you some more pictures of the frame in a video, future videos when we get it all boxed in and painted and everything like that in the motor and stuff. But that's it for today. It's Block 101.